Hello, it's a beautiful day in Maryland. We just came back from church now, and I wanted to share some of the topics that were studied in one of the study classes that I attended there. It was based on the book of Daniel, and particularly chapter 4, about King Belshazzar. And here is what Wikipedia says about that king. It says that Belshazzar was the eldest son of Nabonidus and the last king of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. He may have been killed when Babylon fell to the Persians in 539 before Christ. During his reign, the Israelites were in captivity from the Babylonians, but at that night, Belshazzar was very arrogant toward their God, and he took all of the vessels from the temple of the God of the Israelites, and he started drinking from them and defying his temple, and he praised the gods of gold and silver, of bronze, iron, wood, and stone. And then a very interesting thing happened. Suddenly the fingers of a human hand appeared and wrote on the plaster of the wall, and he couldn't understand what the writing was saying. He calls all the magicians, but long story short, only Daniel was able to read the writings, and he said that basically because of his arrogance toward the God of heaven, his kingdom is going to be taken away from him. And that same night, Belshazzar died from the Medo-Persians, who came and took over the Babylonian Empire. See, the narrative of the Bible is that there is only one God, and that since the creation, people have worshipped all kinds of creatures and objects, but the Bible claims that only the God who created this earth is the real God. And Belshazzar knew that, especially because of the experiences of the king before him, King Nebuchadnezzar. And despite knowing all of the experiences of King Nebuchadnezzar, he still chose to live a life of self-reliance and reliance on objects and statues. King Nebuchadnezzar is known as the greatest king of the Chaldean dynasty of Babylonia. He conquered Syria and Palestine and made Babylon a splendid city. He destroyed the temple of Jerusalem and initiated the Babylonian captivity of the Jewish population. So that same king of Babylon had experiences with the God of Israel that make him see that he is the one and only God. I strongly encourage you to open the book of Daniel and read these 12 chapters. They're fascinating. In chapter 1, for example, Nebuchadnezzar experiences the greatness of the God of heaven by seeing the blessings on the people who choose to serve that God. In chapter 2, he sees that the God, the creator that Daniel serves, is the only God who knows the future. And in verse 47, he says, "Surely your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings and a revealer of mysteries, for you are able to reveal this mystery." In chapter 3, Nebuchadnezzar asks everybody to bow down to a golden statue that he made. And everybody bows down, but the three friends of Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they refuse to bow down in front of anybody but the God of heaven. And they're thrown into the fire, and they do not burn. Nebuchadnezzar is a witness of how God protected his people in the fiery furnace. And here's what he says: "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants, for no other God can save in this way." In chapter 4, though, it's a very interesting story that despite Nebuchadnezzar witnessing the greatness of God, he still is self-reliant and he experiences a mental illness. And here at the end, though, it's not until he raises his eyes toward the heavens that his health is restored. At the end of that time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, raised my eyes toward heaven, and my sanity was restored. Then I praised the Most High. I honored and glorified Him who lives forever. His dominion is an eternal dominion. His kingdom endures from generation to generation. Belshazzar knew about the experiences of Nebuchadnezzar, but despite all of that, he was still self-reliant and arrogant toward this God. And when Daniel was called to interpret the mystery on the wall, here's what Daniel said: "But you, Belshazzar, Nebuchadnezzar's son, have not humbled yourself, though you knew all this. Instead, you have set yourself up against the Lord of heaven. You praise the gods of silver and gold, of bronze, iron, wood, and stone, which cannot see or hear or understand. But you did not honor the God who holds in his hand your life and all your ways. Verse 30. That very night Belshazzar, king of the Babylonians, was slain, and Darius the Mede took over the kingdom at the age of 62. Have you seen the reality and greatness and superiority of this God of heavens who claims to be the creator? Superiority over anything else on this life that we might worship or rely on? If we have, then let's not forget his greatness and be arrogant like Belshazzar, or wait until the end of our lives to acknowledge his sovereignty and give him control over our lives. Because in Jeremiah 29:11 he says that he has plans for us, plans to prosper us, not to harm us, plans to give us hope and a future. But if we have not seen this God real, then just pray and say, God, I hear people talk about you, but I have not experienced you. Please reveal yourself to me.